Welcome back to Observing the Sabbath. I'm your host, Nathaniel Molnar. I'm joined once again by Johnny Gifford. Johnny, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me, Nathaniel. Always such a pleasure to be here.
Always great to have you. And we're doing a little bit of a special video here. We are not continuing on through Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath, as we tend to do. And we're not even talking about Sabotage yet. No, we are doing a special watch-along of the Black Sabbath show filmed in Paris in 1970. And we're doing this as part of our celebration of 1 year on YouTube for Observing the Sabbath.
Wow.
Yeah.
Happy birthday.
Yes. Happy birthday to the channel. And it's been, before we get into the video, I just wanted to kind of touch upon this. It's been an interesting year. You know, I started this channel after you and I and our friend Ian had done a radio show, also called Observing the Sabbath, where we went through and listened to all the albums. And it was a similar sort of dynamic of I'd listened to it all before and I kind of knew a lot more about it. And you guys were kind of listening to it more for the first time, although some of it you had already known. And we kind of really got started with that. And then once the pandemic hit and I had all this free time on my hand, I was like, you know what? I kind of want to do something similar, but, you know, I'll kind of do it myself. And we started, I think the first one that we did, of course, was my Sabbath story, where I just kind of talked about my personal history of Black Sabbath, was released on, I believe, March 12th of 2020. And now here we are, a full year later, and we are halfway through Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath, as we're celebrating 1 year. And it's been great. It's been fun having you on, Johnny, to help me talk about this. It's been great having conversations with the fans and the viewers in the comment section, people throwing in all their different thoughts, people giving me new perspectives on songs and different interpretations, people expanding my knowledge, informing me of things that I didn't know about. And it's just been a really positive, fun experience just talking about music and the Black Sabbath and what we love. It's been a really fun time. So I've had a blast doing it this past year.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me back time and time again. I feel like it's cool to, although knowing some Sabbath beforehand, kind of not really paying much attention to it, and on the radio show, kind of hearing it really for the first time in like sequential order, because I feel like that's a really important experience to go through. But then as we've been doing this together, it's like my second, my third, my fourth. And some of these albums I have listened to a fairly decent amount since, because they're just so goddamn good. But some of these albums and some of these tracks I'm like hearing for like, oh, I'm getting the second time through, which I'm picking up on more details, and the third time, which I'm picking up on more details. And it's kind of just like a different way of listening to it every time. You go through different stages of an album when you listen, depending on how many times you listen to it. You're noticing different things, listening to the mix in different ways. Like sometimes you don't even really pay attention to certain layers that are buried that you might not otherwise recognize, or something cool if you focus in on your left ear, your right ear, and you hear some of the panning that they do. I think that's a really cool thing to, because Black Sabbath does a lot with that too, and I find that really interesting, and just how they layer things too with panning and leveling and whatnot. I think it's really cool.
Absolutely. And I would say I've listened to these songs, I want to say probably now into the hundreds, and I'm still picking up on new things when I listen to it. There's always like all these little deep things buried within every song that you can always pick up something new every time you listen to it. So it's been a fun journey, and we wanted to, as part of our celebration of 1 year, we wanted to do something that we've actually gotten a lot of requests for doing, and something I've been wanting to do for a while, which is a watch-along, a viewing of some of the live shows that Black Sabbath has. And there's a few out there. We figured we'd start with one of their first ones, filmed in Paris in 1970, and Got my phone right here. This is going to be a little bit more informal because we're just kind of going through it. So I know for me, my drink of choice for watching Black Sabbath is now a Black Russian. So I figure Black Russian for Black Sabbath. What are you drinking tonight? What do you have?
Fitting.
What do you have going
That's very
for you
fitting.
tonight?
There's really no reason behind it, but I got a Sam Adams Cold Snap here. I feel like that's just, if I was going to a concert tonight to go see Black Sabbath in Paris in 1970, so, tonight, I would go to the bar and I would probably get one of these.
Absolutely.
So I guess I'm in character here.
So we're recording this at 7:53 at night. Thinking about like an 8 o'clock show is when it's going to start up. We really wanted to turn out the lights, get into the mood. Of course, neither of us have been to a show, like a show, in about a year now because of the pandemic.
Yep.
And so tonight we are going to truly experience Black Sabbath. And we're going to put ourselves in the perspectives of the people who saw this in 1970. So just a little bit of context so that we know what we're dealing with. This was filmed at the Olympia Theater in Paris on December 20th, 1970. And for a little bit of context, the album Black Sabbath had come out on February 13th, 1970, and the album Paranoid had been released in the UK on September 18th in 1970. So, I'm not sure exactly when it was released in Paris, the album Paranoid, but realistically you're thinking, in the United States, Paranoid was released in, I think, January of 71. So, realistically, you've had Black Sabbath out there, you've had Paranoid out there, and the following year they're going to be putting out Master of Reality. So you're in that very early stage of Black Sabbath right there when this was filmed. And so this really is giving us a good insight as to who they are, what they're doing, and the feel and the tone and the presence that they have right at the start of their career as they put out their first 2 albums before you get to all the albums that are to come. So this is a great window into us better understanding who Ozzy, Tony, Geezer, and Bill are at this point in time.
Yeah, do they play songs off of Master of Reality in this?
We will talk about that when we get there, because
I'm dying to know.
There is one part that sounds sort of Master of Reality-ish, which we could discuss when we get to that point. But the actual songs, if you were to look at the set list, were all Black Sabbath and Paranoid.
Okay, so real early stuff, yeah.
Yeah, they're real early
That's
stuff.
Cool.
No Sweet Leaf tonight, or at least not on the set list. No Into the Void, no Children of the Grave. But we got some good ones on here. Should we just dive right in?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Let's listen. All right. And now. There's Ozzy.
Just putting on a show.
Ozzy always, and everyone else always described Ozzy as like the Joker of the group, trying to just keep everyone entertained and make them laugh.
Yep. He's got the theatrics to him, that's for sure.
Yeah. Which he always brings on set, like when he's like actually playing. There's Tony.
He looks like the philosophical stoner one of the group.
Yes. Now that one's Geezer. That's Geezer right there. I know that. And there's Bill.
These Ludwigs, they're nice, but I'm gonna try the room out.
So,
and it's always just the 4 of them.
Yeah, they did bring on a keyboardist when they got into like post Sabbath Bloody Sabbath, but it's the 4 of them.
Okay.
Now at this point in time, they are about 22, 23, so they are our age at this point.
That's just crazy to me, honestly.
I know. I can't imagine having that hair. Although I came close at one point.
That's true, you did.
Not that long, but it was longer. Yeah. No, it's just like a nice little. I love this because it's just like a nice little window into who they are, and We just get to experience them for a little bit before we get their like on stage persona or who they're trying to be on stage.
I loved hearing him play the bass without it on. Like I would listen to a concert of them just playing the strings.
Absolutely. Of course, we start off with Paranoid.
Classic. Strong opener.
Absolutely.
Really just gotta like grab the crowd with this one, you know.
Ozzy's voice is very on point. What I love about watching them live is that it's clear that they all are just having the absolute time of their life when they're playing.
Yeah. I love that for them.
Absolutely. Now what's interesting is that Ozzy talks about how later he always likes to end their shows with Paranoid because he wants to end on that high upbeat tone.
Yeah.
But here they're opening with Paranoid. Probably just because it's their most popular song at this point.
Yeah, that makes sense. He's got 2 mics?
He's got 2 mics. They really want to go for that echo effect with him.
Yeah, yeah.
What I love about Ozzy is he just has so much energy. Like he is one of the best like fronters for a band because he really just gets the audience going. You just feel the energy pulsating through him.
Yeah, you really do.
Like you just feel like if you were on stage while they were playing, you would be doing the exact same thing that he's doing.
Yep, absolutely. And Geezer is the bassist, right?
Yes.
Yeah, he's insane. Like, oh my god, I didn't realize I didn't have as much of an appreciation for him before, but watching him now is like, oh my god, his fingers are crazy.
Oh
He
yeah.
doesn't use a pick.
No, he just is going like this the whole time. He literally is just like
Christ.
Yeah, anytime you watch him, he's just like absolutely going. Him and Bill are like probably the hardest goers through the band.
Yeah. You need a good strong rhythm section, which is exactly what they are.
It's like, now what's interesting is Ozzy uses like his regular sort of British, tone voice for talking through this. Although when you get later, he'll do his sort of Ozzy voice persona when he's talking to the audience, which is interesting.
Yeah.
But in these early days, it's just his regular voice.
Yeah, he's like, when it's high energy, like keeping the energy of it,
Yeah. Hand of Doom.
Nice.
We're gonna really get to see some Geezer.
Oh yeah.
And this just shows they're not afraid to go for the quieter parts while they're on stage. I find it so funny watching Ozzy through this because you can tell he's really trying to focus to make sure he gets his beats right. His timing.
Yeah. He's like looking back, he's like, okay, tempo.
Yeah. And like when he sings, like he's got like a face on, and then the second he stops, he's like, oh yeah, this is pretty cool, yeah, right.
He's just like playing a character.
Yeah.
I feel like he's got to look the part to play the character.
Now, you could listen, like if you listen here and some of their other songs from Paranoid, the lyrics are a little bit different while they're singing now than they are on the actual album.
Oh, interesting.
You can tell they're still kind of just working through the words. You could tell they have the audience's attention when they allow it to get that quiet.
Yeah, that's insane that they allowed it to get that quiet.
Yeah, without like
Are they
chatting?
Yeah, that's incredible to me.
Yeah, the lyrics are different here. But they always just retain
This is
the
a new
tone.
song, right? This isn't Hand of Doom still, right?
No, this is still Hand of Doom.
Oh, it is.
Yeah. Yeah, so,
What album is this off of again?
Paranoid.
Paranoid. That's what I thought. But I always associate Black Sabbath the one that has the many different parts. Although I know that's a thing they do a lot in general.
Yeah.
But that contrast just felt like a new song, totally, honestly.
Yeah, no, that's something I love about that song. It's very hilly. It's very up and down. Very much like some of their later songs. But yeah, no, like you could tell. I love that little just wipe his eye. But but yeah, no, like the lyrics are all very different in this version than it is in the recorded one. But I think you could tell like that's something they've been very upfront about their process is that he kind of finds the melody, he finds the tone, how he's gonna sing it, and then they kind of write in the lyrics later. It was interesting.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I was watching this like documentary. I forget what it's called. I'll put it in the comment section if I look it up later. That was actually like all about the making of Paranoid, the album. And so they had the actual like recordings of that Ozzy did when they were first laying the tracks for like Paranoid song. And famously, they recorded the song Paranoid in about 20 minutes because they needed to fill space on the album. And so in the very first track, like you have all the instrumentals are like the exact same way that they are. And he's singing, but he's just making up words. Like they didn't write a song. He was just making up words to fill the space. But so it's the exact same tone, except it's just absolute nonsense for the words. And then Geezer went in later and wrote in words for that tone, for that melody, and then they re-recorded it. And that's
wonder
just
if that
the
original
process.
take exists somewhere.
It did in this documentary, which was cool. I've never seen it anywhere else, but and that's something else that they did for Planet Caravan was that Ozzy just sort of made up stuff and they just kept all of his words.
That's cool. That's a cool way to write. That's a collaborative way of writing words.
Yeah, I think it just kind of shows
And here we are.
I think it kind of shows their process because Ozzy's very much about the tone and the melody and then creating the sound, and then Geezer just kind of goes in later and like punches it up with actual words.
Yep.
Okay, Geezer's going for it.
I know, for real. He's got so much range. He can go so low.
He really can. He's got one. I know we've talked so many times about like his voice and just how like enigmatic it is, but like it's just one of the most absolutely unique voices ever in music. I think, like not
And once
necessarily.
again, I feel like through watching it, I'm gaining a new appreciation for just his raw talent as a singer.
Especially since he's like 22 right now.
Yeah, I'm putting that in perspective as well, and it's
It's incredible.
kind of blowing my mind. Yeah.
Here we go, rat salad. course, keep in mind, throughout all this, everyone watching and listening, Tony's missing, there you see clearly, he's missing the tops of 2 of his fingers. And he's still creating the sound. Because he had his accident where he got it cut off. And you can see how makeshift it is. Like I think he's perfected it over the years, like what he actually puts on his fingers, but this is the early days. This is like...
Does he only have 3 strings on his guitar?
I can't tell. I would not be shocked.
When it was zoomed in, it looked so much like there was only the bottom 3 strings on his guitar. The lower 3.
You LP notes, and how many take lower, man? If you want to clap, you can.
I didn't hear anything you said. Oh, it's Iron Man. See, I said this during my Iron Man video. Iron Man is not one of my favorite Black Sabbath songs. It's probably on the lower end for me. But when I saw them live, it was the best song that they did because that song is made to be the pump-up song to get everyone going. It is a perfect song to hear live, even if it's not one of their greatest songs.
Despite Tony missing so many of his layers, he just, like you said on a previous one that we did, you don't even need it to make it sound just as full as it does on the album.
Absolutely. I feel like they always play a little bit faster when they do it live than on the actual recording.
I mean, like you said, it was a good pump-up song.
Yeah. Bill's just going at it.
Yeah, for real.
And most times he's usually just like, I don't think he is right now, but he's usually just like smoking a cigarette and he's playing.
Yeah. Of course.
Yeah. I watched the other night, because I don't know if you know the specifics of their trajectory as a band, but, you know, they broke up after Never Say Die, and Dio came on, they had a couple other singers, and then it was like the late 90s that they got back together, the 4 of them, and did their reunion album in 97. So I was watching this show of them from 98. And so it was all 4 of them, and of course they're significantly older at this point. And I was watching Bill play the drums. Now he's obviously like at that point he's like 25, 30 years older than he is now. He was not in the greatest physical shape, but he is going so hard in this. Like I was sitting there watching, I was like, holy crap! He is like destroying these drums as he is going in. It was like absolutely, like you could tell when you watch him play drums, he puts in 150,000% every single time.
Yeah.
And he has a very interesting story himself. He has had like a very long struggle with alcoholism, which they've all had their addiction and substance abuses. But Bill especially had like a really, really long and dark story with alcohol.
Did he recover?
He did. Yes, and that's something
good.
I love about the story about Black Sabbath is that as of today, they're all doing great. They're all in good company with each other. They're all alive and healthy and doing their thing.
That's good. That's really good.
Yeah.
Oh no, he's got the higher strings. All right. I think they're just the fact that they're thinner. They're not wound as much.
Yeah, maybe the lighting too.
Yeah. The way the light hits the bottom 3 versus the top 3 is distinctly different.
like, you watch Ozzy, it's like, he's literally doing nothing different than if he was in the audience listening than he is on stage.
Yep. I will say there is a constant, like, slight quality loss in this entire thing. There's like a little bit of clipping at the top of it,
Yeah.
which is a little annoying. But I can tune it out most of the time.
Yeah. No, I get
It's an old show, you know.
Yeah. I think we're just lucky that we get to have these clips from 50 years ago, 51 years ago, of
Exactly. Yeah.
that they retained as much as they have.
Exactly. Yeah. It's hard to retain that much when it's going to digital that way.
Yeah. And they weren't
Given that
recording.
this was in 1970.
They weren't recording this with the idea that it was going to be preserved and being able to just watch on a tablet.
Yeah.
51 years later, they were like, no, we're just gonna record it and put it out on TV for one night only. So it's incredible that it holds up.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Thank you very much.
Are
they seated? Is this crowd seated?
they look like they're seated.
Wow.
I don't know how you could be seated listening to that. Well, I guess I am. I guess we are. You and me are, but like,
Well,
Now,
yeah.
I tell that bloke to shut his trap and let's do a number now called Black Sabbath. Thank you.
Black Sabbath, here we go. See, I feel like this would be one to open the... Oh, no, here we go. So, this is when I was talking about that they're a little bit of Master of Reality. This whole part sounds like Orchid to me. When he gets into it.
Yeah, it does.
It's a very early version of Orchid.
A little out of tune.
Yeah. And I remember when I watched it the other day, this video, I heard this, I was like, this sounds so familiar, I can't place it. And then I listened to Orchid later, I was like, that's Orchid. That's an early version of Orchid.
Yeah.
And you get a really good look at his, the rubber fingertips there.
Yeah. What happened to his fingers again?
So he worked in a factory, and literally it was his last day of work, before he was going to quit. Like, it was his last day and he was going to go out and be a guitarist, not for Black Sabbath, for a different band at this point. And on the very last day, his fingers got caught in this machine, and he yanked his fingers out, and it ripped off the tops of the tips of two of his fingers. And he thought he was done. Like, that's it. I can't play guitar anymore. It's over. And then I forget the name of the specific guitarist, but there's a specific guitarist who also was missing fingers and would play guitar. And someone told him about this person, and he listened to their music, and it kind of gave him revived hope that he could play guitar again. And so then he kind of created himself. He created these makeshift rubber tips for his fingers. And then as a result, because he had this injury, he couldn't play the guitar really, like, tightly tuned. So he down-tuned the guitar to be able to play it. Of course, giving us that sound that we know of Black Sabbath.
I see.
So he was really, what makes them the pioneers of, like, heavy metal is the fact that they down-tuned the guitar as much as they did, and that was directly because of his accident, out of necessity. So the question is posed.
I feel like everything of what you just said just really shows how they've gotten to this point and why they sound the way they do for so many reasons.
Absolutely. And so the question
Yeah,
asks, would Black Sabbath be Black Sabbath if Tony hadn't lost the tips of his fingers in the way that he did? Like, it's one of those things.
Seems unlikely.
It's such a cool story. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, it's tragic. It's tragic that he lost like his fingers, but I'm sure probably in retrospect he's knowing what it's led to, directly or indirectly. I'm sure he kind of he's accepted it. I'm sure.
Yeah.
But it's a cool story.
I'm curious if he listened to like Django Reinhardt at all, because Django Reinhardt is like a really early jazz guitarist, who was missing fingers.
That may have been
So
the person that Tony had been listening to that inspired him.
That would honestly make sense of why he plays the way he does.
Yeah, because their inspiration is so much blues and jazz. They have that sort of basis. They were in like I think Tony and Geezer, or Tony and Bill, were in an actual blues band before they became Black Sabbath. So
Yep.
But yeah, that may have actually been the guitarist. I don't know the name off the top of my head, but that sounds right, so that could be it.
It would make sense, because that's also a guitarist that I feel like would have influenced Tony Iommi. And he was also missing fingers.
Yeah. Ozzy's voice, man.
I know.
He hits that. So you get with a lot of the show so far, it's more of like I don't want to necessarily say upbeat, but there's some like groovy tunes. This is like, we're going dark, we're going heavy, we're going for it.
Yeah, this is dark.
Another song that you don't necessarily think would play well live, that people would have patience for. Similar to what parts of Hand of Doom, but maybe that's why you don't open the set with Black Sabbath and you kind of do it in the middle, because you want to get people engaged first, and then you kind of give them this song.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think it's just playing a song like this live, and you hear that intense dynamic range. This is one of the most intensely dynamic songs. It just makes it that much more powerful to experience the raw difference of sound, like live and in person.
Yeah, absolutely.
And once again, everyone's silent.
Yeah.
That's amazing to me. I guess they are seated, so
Yeah.
they're probably slightly more quiet for that reason.
I just can't even imagine like sitting in an auditorium in 1970, just like sitting there
Dead
rooted to your
silent.
seat. Your toe, all you can do is just tap your toe along or something.
Yep.
And I mean, I don't know how many people in France are bilingual, but there's probably at least some people in this audience that don't speak English that aren't necessarily knowing what they're saying. They just hear the tone.
Exactly.
One of my favorite parts of this whole show is coming up in a minute. Look at how much, like, extra, I'm sure there's a better technical term, but extra wire there is on Tony's guitar. He's just got hanging out the head of the guitar.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And Ozzy messed up the lyrics a little bit, but that's okay. And he repeats the same line again. Or he comes back to it, I mean.
That's okay, I get it. I've done that playing live before.
It's okay. We love Ozzy. We can do it. We give him permission.
As long as I get to hear his beautiful voice.
Here we go. He just loses his shit on stage.
Yeah. but in such a controlled way. Like, he's got the mic stand still in his hand, and it's still, like, there and fine. He's got good control.
He's just acting out how I've always felt listening to Black Sabbath at this point.
This is me dancing in my head whenever I listen to them. Like, this is what's happening inside of my head.
Yeah. And everyone in the audience is thinking, damn, I wish we weren't seated right now.
Thank you very much. Thank
Yeah, I hope they start a pit.
I know. So I think that's the end of part 1. They split it into 2 parts. So
Okay.
don't worry, it's not over yet. We still got another half.
Thank God. Yeah, we got about
Part 2 of this Black Sabbath
30 minutes
concert can be
left.
seen in Rock of the 70s next Friday night
Concert?
at the same time.
Part 2? I feel like I don't know, like that has like that sort of tone for the voice just reminds me of like Twilight Zone or, you know, some like very old show.
We can have some grub.
It's so proper. It super doesn't fit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's perfect.
Music.
Part
Yeah.
2 of this rock band concert.
Let's go. Let's go. Come on in. Okay.
And we get another little before the show bit with them.
Nice.
Yes. No, Black Sabbath.
I've never been so riveted watching someone set up drums.
Me neither. I'm like checking out his setup. It's got a lot of cymbals.
Yeah. And the crew all has the same
Right.
haircut.
Yeah.
It's like
I
that.
can't tell who's in the band and who's not anymore.
That's the prerequisite for being associated with Black Sabbath. You have to have the exact same
Yeah.
haircut. One interesting shirt too for I think that was Geezer with the stars.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
Interesting mic placement.
Yeah. But you really want to hear the drums.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that drum kit's not going anywhere.
No. I think it's so funny that they're nailing it down, but I get it.
Yeah. NIB.
Nice.
NIB is just one of their best, I think. It's such a great song.
Was that on Black Sabbath?
Yes. Yep, the first album.
Yeah. lot of cymbals indeed.
Good thing they nailed it down.
I can't tell if there's like a second hi-hat or if it's like a small splash like right above the hi-hat or something. It's a weird little cymbal.
I'm always amazed that Black Sabbath had as much commerciality, I don't know if that's a word, as they did at the time that they came out. Like, the fact that they were big enough to be doing a filmed show in Paris at this point in time, having put out the 2 albums. And the first album hadn't...
Exactly.
Yeah. The second one hadn't even come out.
How did they get this popular?
They just took off. I mean, I guess like Led Zeppelin's popular at this point, and you know, you have other bands that are similar but popular, but like, you know, especially like the time that they came out, the stuff that they're singing about, the tone that they have. It's always amazing to me that they weren't like this like very underground band, but that they had as much commercial success as they did. Yeah, and like the second album wasn't even out in the United States at this point.
Yeah.
Of course, that wouldn't have much to do with Paris, but still, like they're like a big audience.
Yeah, they're like clearly in like a very formal theater setting. You gotta have some level of popularity to attain that.
That's like the funniest part about all this, is that the whole audience is just sitting there and they're like this very formal. They're like sipping tea, watching Black Sabbath.
Yeah, this is just a night out in the town for these old rich folk. That's what I imagine this as.
It's a Wednesday night, let's go out and see Black Sabbath. So if you had to guess right now, what are the other songs that they're going to play?
What'd you say?
I said, if you had to guess right now, what do you think are the other, like, last 2 or 3 songs that they're going to play for the show?
Are they gonna play Black Sabbath?
Well, they already did.
Oh, they already did? Oh yeah, they did. I'm sorry.
There's a big one that they haven't done yet.
Fairies Wear Boots?
That is one. There's another big one that they haven't done yet.
I'm gonna kick myself for not knowing.
Once you realize it, you'll kick yourself.
Yeah.
It's one of their most popular ones.
It was War Pigs was out at this time, right?
Yes. War Pigs is the other big one they haven't done yet.
That's the other big one? Okay.
There may be a third one that they'll do. I can't remember, but those 2 are coming.
They're just closing with the bangers, aren't they?
Absolutely. Well, every song's a banger. It's hard to close with the banger when every song is the banger.
It's like 110% versus like 100%.
Oh yeah, I forgot they were gonna do Behind the Wall Sleep. Nice. Another great Black Sabbath song. Behind the Wall Sleep is one of the ones that not enough people talk about, but like all the like real, like not real, but like diehard Black Sabbath people know about, but not everyone talks about as much. It's such a great song.
Yeah.
I don't like to qualify like real or true fans as opposed to other fans. Like everyone's a fan, you know. You just have varying degrees of knowledge.
Yeah.
That's gatekeeping if you start referring to people as true fans and not true fans. It's interesting to me that when they do it live, they kind of break it up. Because, you know, on the record you have, it goes Behind the Wall Sleep directly into Basically, and then directly into NIB, but they kind of break it up on here. Same thing with, on the record they have Rat Salad goes directly into Fairies Wear Boots, but they break it up on here. It's kind of interesting that they do it that way.
Yeah, I think that's cool.
Yeah.
They're more just like playing movements, it's almost like.
Yeah.
They construct their movements differently depending how they're playing.
Absolutely.
I've been getting really into krautrock lately, which is like another brand of rock that was popular in Europe in the 70s, like mainly like Germany and stuff. And there's not a ton of similarities, but it's just like I don't really listen to a ton of music from the 70s. So having listened to those two things now, just there's an incredible amount of pioneering in rock music at this time. Although there, you know, there wasn't for the majority of the 60s too, of course, and I guess krautrock was in the 60s as well.
Yeah.
But rock is really going exciting places at this time.
Absolutely. And I find what you just said ironic because I only listen to music from the 70s. So. There's a lot of.
I listen to a lot of music in like the 90s, 80s as well lately, but not really. I don't really touch the 70s a whole lot.
I feel like personally, and this is a little bit of a side note, for me, 70s is the best period of time for art, for both music and movies. 70s was the best decade for that. And I think you just had a lot of stuff going on at the time that just created some really dynamic, dark, deep, interesting art.
Yeah.
They're of course going nuts. See, my brain is so tuned to hear this and think that they're going to go into Basically, but no, they're not.
Oh, they're going to fake you out.
They're going to fake me out. God damn you, Black Sabbath. See, so
a Coke?
He's drinking, well, he's drinking Coke then, he'll be doing Coke later.
There you go. Such a bluesy song.
That's why one of my favorite descriptions of the first Black Sabbath album is blues metal.
Yep.
And I don't know what the hell this is, but they just kind of did some shit.
It's jazz, baby. Yeah, that walking bass line is insane.
They're so in tune with each other, even just so early on, they're very in tune with each other.
Yeah, they really are.
Thank you very much, thank you.
Okay, now they're standing.
Thank God. Some of them were jumping, I saw.
Okay. I'll take it. Oh, but they're sitting back down. Those are some young kids.
They seem exhausted, like they've been jumping around a lot.
Yeah.
So maybe they have been.
War Pigs, here we go.
Here we go.
another fantastic song to hear live.
Oh yeah, it's another powerful.
Also a very dynamic song. It definitely has its highs and lows. Like, not to the same degree as Hand of Doom or something, but it has its like more restrained parts.
They're really good at doing that, and I love that in music, just in general.
Absolutely.
Build ups and breakdowns and stuff. I don't mean breakdowns like I mean it in a literal sense, like breaking down.
Yeah. I think Warning is like the greatest example of that off of Black Sabbath. Which I wish there was more footage of them playing that live. There isn't. I don't know if they really played that one live or not, but whatever.
Gathered in their masses, just like witches at black masses. In the fields of bodies burning, as the war machine keeps turning. Evil minds that plot destruction.
This is also a little bit different because you usually have like the few more of those little guitar parts in between the lyrics.
Yeah. Keeping a little quieter.
Yeah. I don't know if that's just like they're tailoring it for the audience or if they're still kind of developing the songs. To be honest, well, I guess if the album came out in September of 1970, this is December, then they've already recorded it. So,
yeah.
Well, I guess it's a fluid thing.
Hey, maybe Tony just needs a moment.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's not necessarily that it has to be the exact same thing that they recorded. Like, they could just play it. Yeah. They could just be playing the sense of the song every time, and then like it just changes slightly, and they just happen to record it one way when they recorded it, and they play different ways every time.
That seems to be how a lot of their earlier stuff goes. A lot of their later stuff is more planned out, I feel like.
Yeah. Yeah, the lyrics are different here.
Ozzy's doing the same thing, changing it up every time.
Yeah.
But it's still got like that same essence. They hit all the same beats.
Yeah. It's similar idea to Tony with the multiple tracks, you know. He has the multiple tracks on the record, but then when it comes to actually playing it, he's only got to do the one, but he still captures the essence of the song.
Exactly. I love how the way that Bill plays drums, especially during that last part. It's like another voice, another melodic instrument when he's like hitting the different drums and the snare and the toms on certain beats.
Absolutely.
It's almost like the drums are singing.
Yeah, that's something I love. I hear that with the guitars a lot. I hear that with the bass sometimes. You know, you hear that with the drums. Like, it really feels like there's like four voices.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
And I just attribute that to how in tune they are as a band. Like, they just get each other. They understand how to work together to create.
Exactly. They're just having a conversation.
Yeah.
They're just having a musical conversation. That's all this is.
Yeah. What is music if not musical conversations persevering?
Exactly.
or a music composer.
And they're damn good at communication, that's for sure. Maybe that should be their major.
Yeah.
Looking right in the camera.
Yeah. Ozzy's got to find the camera and then head down.
Yeah.
I don't know how Tony even like sees his guitar with all that hair.
That's a great question. He doesn't even need to see, I'm sure. He just feels it.
Yeah, he just feels it. Like, I feel like out of all of them, he's got the craziest hair at this point.
Yeah, his face is definitely obscured the most.
But I guess that was just the style of the 70s. You have the mustache, you get the long hair, you just go for it.
Exactly.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we got some people. What was that? What was that in his mouth? It looked like a harmonica or something.
I also thought it was a harmonica.
He's like, I hope they do the wizard. I'll play along.
That's a number now called Fairies Red Boots. So
What I love is that, like, probably that whole audience is just a bunch of teenagers, like, stoned out of their minds. Like, oh yeah, I love Black Sabbath. And then next thing they know, it's like 51 years later, and they're like part of like this historical piece of archived video.
Yeah.
Here we go, Fairies Wear Boots. I believe this is the last song in the video. Although I could watch another hour of this.
For real.
It gives us something to look forward to the next time that we do a live video of theirs.
Absolutely. It's crazy how jazzy that one part is, and now they're back to just like, rock riffs.
Yeah. I absolutely love how jazz and blues influence their music is. It's just, it makes it so much more rich in my eyes. I don't know why, but it just does. It just gives it such a unique sound in the same way that it's borrowing another genre's sound. It's just like an infusion at that point.
Yeah.
Although I gotta say, like, I know they usually end with Paranoid, but this is a great way to end a set. It's a great closer song.
It is, yeah. Especially this repetition is kind of kind of like a wrapping up thing. I don't know. It's the impression I get from it.
Absolutely. This is also one of my favorite. It's one of the most understated Black Sabbath songs too. Although I say that, I feel like I say that for like a lot of songs. Like this is one of their most underappreciated. This is a song that nobody talks about. In the same way that I have like 8 or 9 songs in my top 5.
Yeah. Ooh, nice stars on the shirt.
So all right. So before when we saw the stars, that must have been Bill.
Yeah.
When you watch their live shows, they have some very interesting wardrobe decisions, to say the least.
Very 70s.
Look at that nice echo.
Yeah. Oh, I love that riff.
Wow, the frame rate can't even keep up with music. It's like
really
lagging. You need to use like a high-tech NASA camera lens to like fully capture Geezer.
Yeah, you could watch Geezer in slow-mo, and he would just look like he was going normally.
You just think
You have to go real slow, though.
Yes.
Bassline's like really complicated here, but it's so just under everything.
I just don't even know how you can have that level of precision when you play bass like that. Like,
I know.
that's incredible.
You have to. I feel like you have to come from a jazz background to really understand how to just play that well.
Yeah.
You don't have to, but it's. These are clearly jazz musicians that wanted to play like hard music,
Yeah.
and their just tightness and their timing shows.
Really hear the bass there.
Yeah, jumping octaves there.
A nice little like wrap up.
Yeah, great way to close that.
Thank you very much. That's all from Black Sabbath. Thank you.
People are, all right, I guess I'll stand up this time.
They look like some of them are walking away, just immediately.
Wow.
I'd be just sitting there in awe for like at least 10 minutes afterwards.
I know.
In Rock of the 70s next week, the bright sparks of progressive rock, Van de Graaff Generator.
All right, see you next week for Van de Graaff Generator.
Oh yeah. Maybe I'll start up observing the generator or whatever.
Observing the fucker.
What do you even do as Black Sabbath? Like after a show, you just kind of like. Well, obviously you do a whole bunch of drugs. I guess you just walk through the streets. I guess that's what you do. Shirtless. You just kind of walk around.
Yep.
Let's go get a cup of coffee.
Walk around and do drugs, you know?
Yeah, as one does.
Yeah.
All right.
What a treat.
So, that concludes the Paris 1970 show. December, I think we said December 20th, 1970. So, Johnny, after watching that for the past hour, what were your thoughts?
That was just, I don't know. I feel like I'm not gonna listen to them the same way ever again. Because although I had seen live footage here and there, I haven't really sat. This is kind of like the equivalent of like hearing a song here and there or hearing something in passing, but then opposed to sitting down and listening to an album. I had seen footage before, but I hadn't sat down and watched an actual show or seen them live, see them play like a set live or anything. And those are just incredibly different experiences, and I really get myself like really immersed in it, especially with a band like Black Sabbath, because they're just, I don't know, I can't say much more than what I've already said.
Yeah.
But I guess tying everything else from earlier together, they're incredibly tight. They clearly like have great language with each other, and they can communicate well. You can tell that there's like a history with them. They've played together for a long time. And they know how to like sweeten each other's parts. They know to like, I guess kind of, they know to stay down when someone else wants to do something flashy, but at the same time there are so many moments where they're all doing something like flashy at once, but it works. You know, it's not like flashy for the sake of being flashy. It's flashy with like just this intense energy to it that kind of warrants it being as flashy as it is, you know?
Yeah.
And it feels like a treat that we're watching this era of Black Sabbath as a concert.
Absolutely.
Because this is like when their live sound was their sound, you know? These songs that's pretty much how those songs are, you know, meant to be consumed in that kind of setting. Not to say that they really lost that with their later albums. They kind of just tried to switch it up a little bit, but this is like, they could record an album just by doing what they just did, I feel like, in their earlier days.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's definitely something to, and you were kind of just talking about this, but to watching them in this specific period of time, like, these were the same people at this point in time that we just watched for the last hour. These were the people who were recording these albums, who made the sounds that we listen to all these years later. And so to listen to the album Black Sabbath, or to listen to the album Paranoid, you know, it's one thing to listen to the album like on its own and just hear it and experience for what it is, but then to kind of actually see the people who made it, and to see them, not just see the people who made it, but see them in the context of which they were actively making that music that you were just listening to. It's kind of almost like watching the behind the scenes making of a movie that you love. You know, you have your one experience with the music, or with the movie that you love, with the final piece of art, but then you watch something that kind of illuminates and better expands your understanding of how that piece of art came to be. And while we're not necessarily watching like the making of Paranoid the album, we're not necessarily watching footage of them in the studio recording that album, we're still getting a sense of who they are as people, how they work together, who they are visually, what they feel like, their senses and their sensibilities as human beings, and just, you know, just even like the little bits we were kind of talking about, the little bits before the actual set of just the four of them kind of hanging out and fucking around with a broom, you know, just like we just get a sense of who they are as people, and what they were like, and what we feel like we're kind of hanging out with them. And
They're so goofy.
yeah, they really are. And because they're 22-year-old kids who have just
Yeah.
stumbled into fame of like they're playing in Paris at this point. At 22 years old, they're playing a show in Paris with 2 records already out. They've made it at this point, and it's just incredible. And it's one thing to listen to the music and experience music as music. It's another thing to actually see the people who are making that music perform within the specific context that they were actually making that music. And that's one of my favorite things about watching something like this, is seeing that context live in person.
Absolutely. And I feel like another reason why I perceive these songs in such a different way with like a new perspective is that I'm watching them doing it. So I'm paying attention to the part that I'm watching, and they do a good job of cutting to parts that are, particularly interesting or shining during a specific moment. It's like spotlighting that moment. So actually watching them do that, watching Bill, make his drums like sing during a specific part of like a call and response. I'm like paying much more attention to that sonically as well as visually, and it just like makes so many little details come out to me that I hadn't seen before, that really just give me such a larger appreciation of it as a whole, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think also something that I noticed when I watched this is when you watch some of their other live shows later on, as they kind of get further into their career as a band, you can tell they're filmed differently. Like some of the latter ones, there's definitely like the cameras are focusing more on Ozzy, because Ozzy is more sort of the face at this point of the band, and is more the more notorious one of the group. And so there are definitely some points like with later shows where you get into like the guitar solo and the camera's just staying on Ozzy the whole time, and you don't even get to see Tony.
Yeah.
Like there are some shows where like I'm literally just sitting there watching, like, why are you not showing, like, literally Tony is not being shown at all throughout this whole thing. Like, it's just Ozzy. But for something like this, like before they actually have the notoriety or whatever they have to their status at this point, it's a little more even. You kind of, when basically comes on, Geezer's the focus. When you get your drum solos, when you get Rat Salad, Bill's the focus. When you get the big guitar solos, unless if Ozzy's jumping around all over the stage, you get the focus on Tony. So it's a little more even-handed here, whereas some latter ones, it's not as much. But I definitely want to, with you, go through some of the other ones that they have, because there's so many. And what I like is that you get a sampling of each different era. Like, I think there's one from like 1972, which at that point they're playing Volume 4 songs, and they're playing a couple of early Sabbath Bloody Sabbath songs. You get to 1974, you're getting mostly Sabbath Bloody Sabbath. When you get to Cal Jam from 1974, you get 1978, they're playing Sabotage, they're playing Never Say Die, they're playing a couple of songs from Technical Ecstasy. So you kind of, with their live shows that they have, you get like a wide range of their entire, if you just want to look at the first 8 albums for the original group, you get a good sampling of their entire time making music in that 8 years. But you also get specific points in time, and you can kind of see their evolution, their growth, both as people, as musicians, but also as performers.
Yeah, and I'd love to be able to, witness that growth, kind of like how we've been doing, through their music.
Yeah.
Alone, but seeing that progression through their video content as well is really cool.
Well, fuck it. We should do a video series of going through all the live shows. Why not?
Is this like their first big live one?
I believe so.
That you know of?
If there is a live video thing that still exists that was before this, I'm not aware of it. because this was very early on for them. But I'm sure there's like audio recordings out there. But like, I mean, they even back when they were Earth, they did an album, or at least half an album, with what's the name of the other band? I think it was like Flying something. They did like half an album with another band as Earth, where they put out a couple of songs, and so they did that before they were Black Sabbath, and then of course they became Black Sabbath. So I don't know if there's video content before this, so I think this is probably the earliest, which also makes it cool watching it, knowing that this is like the first video of Black Sabbath as a band.
Yeah, exactly. That's cool. Yeah, I'm excited to see how they change from just in appearance and in, I guess, stage manner, because like how their albums are changing is it's more of their studio sound when you're listening to their albums. I'm interested to see how that translates to their live sound as they progress.
Absolutely, and I think something we've talked a lot about before, even in this video, about how they have all these different layers, and then they have to pick and choose when they play it live. You really get that sense when you listen to some of the other live shows where, you know, they're playing Snowblind or Supernaut or any of those other songs where they do have multiple tracks and they kind of have to pick and choose, and how they kind of, you know, bridge that together. It makes for some interesting things. So I think definitely on this channel, I don't know about like a set regular basis, so nobody hold me to this, but we will do more, you and I specifically will do more watch-alongs of different live shows for Black Sabbath. And if there are more, like, if there are more that I'm not thinking of, and I want to specifically stick to the video content, because there's a bunch of ones that are like just the audio, which is cool. I want to do those at some point, but I would like to at least, for the time being, stick with the video content, since we already do the recorded songs as just like a nice contrast. If there are ones that I'm not thinking of for people watching, other than the one from 72, which I forget exactly where they filmed that, but the one from 72, the Caldram one from 74, and then the one that they did in 78, if they're from the Never Say Die tour. If there's more than that out there, please comment it in the comments section and let me know, because we'll definitely cover some of those if it's an actual live filmed recording of them as a band, and not necessarily like someone's phone footage. Of course you wouldn't have that in the 70s, but I'm thinking more for like their reunion tour and their
later stuff. Yeah.
It was interesting. So I saw them, I think I've mentioned on this channel before, I saw them live when they did their End tour in 2016. It was like August of 2016. And I knew Black Sabbath, but I didn't know a lot of their songs at that point. And so I actually found online, someone had filmed one of their shows that I think it was about, like, it was just like a matter of like maybe 3 weeks before they played when I saw them. And someone had filmed it in like Germany. And I watched it and I was like, oh shit, this must have been like the exact same set list. Like this must have been the exact same show that I would have seen in 2016. It was kind of fun because I had remembered thinking, I went with a friend of mine who knew more about Black Sabbath at that point than I did. And he was saying to me at the time, he's like, oh, I don't know if I've ever heard the song before. And for a long time, I was trying to figure out what that song would have been that he didn't know, and I had no idea what song it was. And then when I went through the set list of this show, I realized it must have been Behind a Wall of Sleep, which would make sense, since that's not one of their most well-known songs. But it was cool to kind of see that again and almost sort of re-experience my time seeing that, because that was such a fun concert to go to. Even not knowing a ton about Black Sabbath at the time, that was such a great show to go to.
And I'm sure you've seen some of the stuff from that same era later on. You've watched some of the shows.
Yeah, I watched. I've watched some shows from when they were doing their like 98 reunion tour. I watched some stuff from when they were doing The End. I've tried to watch as much as I can find on YouTube, watch as much of the live shows as they've done, as much as there is recorded content of it.
Yeah, did you feel like you got like a really different experience out of it watching, like specifically with the End tour, like watching it knowing their music really well opposed to going in somewhat blind?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I would say so, definitely. I mean, you kind of have you have some stuff where like they had like actual crews of people filming it, and then you have the stuff that people just kind of filmed on their phones when they were playing. But there is something really cool to be said about that. They're at that point, that was like 2016, 2017, that they're doing this. You know, it's how many years later that they've been playing together as a band. Unfortunately, at that point, Bill wasn't a part of the band. He didn't sign on to be part of the End tour. So they had, I believe I could be wrong, but I believe it's the drummer from Rage Against the Machine was touring with them at that point.
Oh, wow.
And so when they recorded the album 13, it was him who played drums on that, not Bill, which was disappointing that, of course, you know, you didn't have Bill to make it completely the four of them. But there is something to be said that, you know, they've been playing Black Sabbath, they've been playing Paranoid, they've been playing War Pigs for 50 years or close to 50 years at that point, like 47. There's something to be said about like watching them at that point playing those songs and just how much is different, but also how much is the same. So there's definitely different things to take away from. And you know what? Probably what we can do is part of our live show, our live viewings, we could watch their stuff from the End. We could watch their stuff from Reunion. Because why not? It's our channel. We can decide the rules. No one's going to tell us what we can and cannot do.
It's crazy also that this was 1970, so this is just over 50 years ago at this point.
Yeah, like
the show that we watched.
This December, it will be 51 years.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. That's wild.
Absolutely. So I don't know, but I'm sure you feel the same way. But that was a lot of fun to watch that, and I'm glad that we did the lighting for the atmosphere. We did the right time. Yep. We really. I know you were very much wanting to experience a show since we haven't had a chance to experience a show, at least in person, in a very long time. Would you feel like you really experienced a show tonight?
Yeah, honestly, I was so sucked into the screen, it felt like I was really there. All my like 144 pixels were really there.
And it helped that we were both sitting down, because now we really felt like we were part of the audience.
Exactly. I think next time, if the audience is standing, I think we just gotta like stand.
Yeah.
In the back of the room, and
but
just,
we don't
you know, dance around a little bit.
We don't move the camera, so it's just us like going like, yeah.
That's perfect.
Yeah. Absolutely. All right. Well, I think unless if you have,
I'm looking forward to it.
Unless if you have any other thoughts about this show, I think we can wrap it up.
Yeah, I'm just looking forward to watching some other ones and seeing how they progress as a band.
Yeah. So yeah, people watching, don't hold me to a timeline. We'll do it at some point. But I'm really glad that we did the first part of this. With the Paris 1970, one of I'd say probably their most famous one is the Cal Jam concert, but then this is probably their second most famous in terms of shows, filmed, recorded shows. I'm glad we had a chance to do it. Thank you guys for watching. You can like and you can comment for more content, and I want to know all of your thoughts on the show, on what we've said, different points that we've said throughout this, as well as just your thoughts on the show in general, and if you have any other live video content that you want us to watch as part of our going through the live shows, leave all that in the comment section. I definitely want to check it out. And do stay tuned. We are still working through Sabbath Bloody Sabbath. I think we've done up through Killing Yourself to Live, so we still have the second half of the album left to go before we go into Sabotage. So keep your eyes out for the rest of our look at Sabbath Bloody Sabbath. So until then, until we continue Sabbath Bloody Sabbath, until we do the next live show that Black Sabbath has to offer, thank you for watching.